with the world as it is. We're all kind of stuck at home, but everyone's still trying to figure out how to create content, how they can continue staying connected to their target market, whether it be internal or external. Luke, with phones being as powerful as they are these days, what are your thoughts or your tips and tricks in terms of successfully creating content with a phone?
I would say there are three things, super quick. Find a quiet space. It's all about your subject hearing what you're saying really clearly, because most of the content you're creating is message driven. So if your shot looks beautiful, but they can't hear a thing, you got a problem. So just find a spot that is quiet and that doesn't echo, and you're good to go. Second thing I would recommend is very much lighting. Find a room with natural light. So basically find some windows, point yourself facing those windows, and you're off to a fantastic start. Your phone does not appreciate low light environments. So really find a spot with natural light and find a spot that is relatively quiet. And the last thing is get your hands off your phone. So instead of just holding it up being like, hey, we're just filming a selfie, a lot of fun, take your phone and pop it down somewhere, honestly, just like a laptop. Just like that, get it out of your hands. So you can actually have quite a video with it, a nice video with it. If you want to, if you feel like it's kind of looking up your face a little bit and it's not the most flattering angle, get a book or two, pop it under your laptop, and bam, you've got yourself the world's greatest tripod, just like that.
For everyone who's kind of in the mindset that, shooting content at home is impossible, shooting content on a phone is impossible, what do you think is holding people back from doing what's actually already been proven? Even before COVID, there's tons of content coming down the pipeline from people creating it mobily. What do you think is the biggest thing holding people back from being successful content creators, being successful communicators at home with a phone?
I would say this. This is the thing that's stopping people from creating mobile videos at home. The reason is if you have a perspective that you think what the quality that's coming out of your phone is not professional enough, you need better lighting, you need better sound, you need 4K, 8K, whatever the heck you need, you're missing the point, and that point is message. The most important thing is your objective and your message. Like, honestly, look at statistics way back in the day, like years ago, companies were producing videos all on mobile and getting absolutely amazing results. Prime example of this is BuzzFeed. I remember chatting to a director at BuzzFeed probably a year ago, and she was saying that every time they used to bring like $20, $30, $40,000 of gear every time they'd go out and like film a cafe or like a restaurant or something, kind of do like a little, hey, this is what it's like. And their views were pretty poor. And they weren't actually getting the success that they really wanted, the traction on social media. But as soon as they switched to actually mobile filming, they literally brought a phone, and there was probably like an iPhone, I don't even know, it was years ago, and a little handheld gimbal, and that's all they brought. And immediately they started seeing a lot better traction because people could relate to this. People could see, oh, actually, if I was at that restaurant, I'd produce something very similar to that too. And it made the content much more relatable. And ultimately, that is a much better place to be, that your content is authentic. Has a clear message than worrying about whether you have a, professional DSLR setup or, all this other buzzwords that people get really caught up on when it comes to quality of video. But quality of video, the resolution of your video doesn't equate to you achieving anything in terms of your objective and that type of stuff. So really, at the end of the day, it's all about achieving your objective and getting your message clear. Have I rambled way too long on this topic?
Never,
Luke
was
very specific about me being very short, very concise, and I've done neither of those two things.
No. We always love hearing all of your nuggets of wisdom, Luke. And actually, I loved sharing that. Yeah. I loved what you said about the BuzzFeed stuff. I think that's super, super interesting. Like listening to how mobile affected their business. So awesome insight, Luke. Thank you so much for sharing. Zack, we're going to switch over to you, and you are going to help us figure out how to find a space in your home to shoot from, how to, what to be thinking about when you're trying to pick that spot. So what thoughts are running through your mind when you're trying to find that space?
Yeah, great. So look, it's a bit of a juggling act when it comes to setting up a shot. There's a few things to think about. Background is definitely one of them. Of course, it's the most easily recognizable visual element. Audio and lighting. And so I think other people have covered it, but you sort of need that balance of all three. So there's no point having the best background ever if it's next to a highway and you're hearing trucks going past. There's no use being in that great backdrop when there's no lighting. So I guess you sort of need to balance all three at the same time and look at what your priorities are. Now for me, it was a bit of a challenge. I'm in an apartment. There's not really any big spaces to go and film in. So I couldn't have that nice depth that everyone kind of wants. I'm in focus, everything else behind me is blurry. Wasn't really achievable here. So I did just have a white wall, which anyone who's been to my trainings knows how much I hate those plain white walls. It's very boring. So I improvised. I grabbed a shelf. I cleared all the things that probably shouldn't be in the background of the shot. That is the copious amounts of alcohol that we stocked up on pre-isolation. And I replaced it with camera gear. Just any old camera I could find, shoot stick kits, anything that's on brand. It both has to be on brand and suit the message, suit the objective of the video. That way you can build a nice little background, nothing too distracting, but something that fills it with color and depth and texture that is a little bit more engaging than a white wall.
Zack, do you have any quick stories about, incidents of roommates or anything coming into your background while you were producing good content?
I haven't had too many bad ones. I've trained my roommates quite well, but there is another one every single day. No one is safe either. It doesn't matter who you are. There was a musician a couple of days ago who did an hour live stream, free music for everyone, and all the comments should have been about how great the music is and thanks for doing this for free. Every single comment was about the fact that his bed wasn't made. It's those simple little things. Come on, it was a great opportunity for him to be known and recognized, but no, it's just about his bed now. So those are the little things I guess you need to start with. I know we have a team meeting every morning on video. First thing I do is just make sure I've generally cleaned the area, cleaned my space, checked my shot for things, and then ready to go at that point.
So it sounds like the moral of the story is to be mindful of your surroundings, make your bed, don't let something take away from your message and distract your audience. Awesome, Zack. Thank you so much for walking us through that. Gary, bring us home, baby. Now that we have shot footage at home, now that we've talked through shooting footage at home, what do we do with that footage? What happens next?
They should send us the shooter so that we can edit it for them.
Well, there you go. And that's our show, ladies and gentlemen.
That's it. That's all you need to know.
No, you're absolutely not wrong. Obviously Shoots is bread and butter is our editing service. We have, a ton of editors that are highly capable. But for the rest of our audience, the ones who aren't Shootstick clients, the ones who are getting really gritty and really taking this upon themselves to figure this out, what should they be thinking about? What are the next steps for them in the video journey now that they've completed production and are moving into post?
I guess the first thing is what apps or what programs should you use? If you have an Apple computer, iMovie comes with most of their computer, as far as I'm aware of. I haven't used it for a very long time, but I remember back in the day that was something I started with. So learning how to just basically do some cuts and trims and maybe a basic transition, things like that. Those will at least help you start to manage or create a more interesting looking video. And adding something as simple as some simple background music. I know a lot of people don't recognize the music in videos, and that's primarily good because if you recognize the music, then the music is wrong. But throwing in, background music that associates with what you're talking about sets the tone for the video, actually. So you can actually use one video or one piece to camera and change the background music, and that will change the overall video quite dramatically.
Yeah.
Those are some small tips that people can try, I think. Yeah,
definitely. Gary, I know it's a bit of an obscure question because obviously we're all creatives here, and taking the video, going down the video journey comes fairly natural to us now, which means obviously from production you go into post-production, right? But as you know, there's this notorious saying of fixing it in post, right? And I think I cringe, and I think you cringe, and I think we all cringe when we hear that sentiment. Why is that so taboo, or why is that such a bad thing?
Okay, so fix it in post is basically your last resort, and I'll give you a clear example. Something as basic as having nice hair or makeup done, right? Yes, you could fix that in post. Like if a girl or a guy was like, oh, can you get rid of my black bags under my eyes in post? I'm like, we could do that. It will also cost you a bomb because we need to do it frame by frame and fix your eye bags, right? It's not quite as simple as Photoshop.
Yeah, it sounds like a nightmare.
It's a nightmare. And we've literally had responses like that here in Asia with some of our videos. It's like, can you cover this and that? I'm like, you know what would have been a great thing to do during production was to have noticed that. So the person behind camera to just notice it and go, hey, let's just take a moment, blot the oils out or put a little bit of foundation, right? And that will alleviate the need to fix in post. And that will speed up your post timeline and create less problems in post and also save you a lot of time and money.
Definitely. I feel like that's why, I mean...
Can I jump in there for a second?
Yeah.
And even just add one more point? Dare I say it? Or am I totally messing things up?
No, you're good.
I think the biggest thing for fixing in post on the flip side, especially with like ad hoc mobile videos, is not thinking about what you're saying until you grab the camera and press record. And trust me, it's the most annoying thing to do because you're like, yeah, we'll just cut it up, we'll make it look good, it'll sound great, and it never does. Take a moment, write down your thoughts, even dot points, anything, because it's so much easier to do that first than it is to actually, just ad hoc for the whole thing and then assume that you'll make a nice 90-second video out of your 30 minutes of rambling.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously this lines up really well to Nick's point, like sitting down and thinking about how to script a piece before going into it is so integral to coming out with a really solid piece of content. I feel like the way I've always seen it is it's like a cooking process, Pre-production is your recipe, production is going to the store and picking up your ingredients, and then post-production is cooking it, right? So all of these things have to line up really, really well. Otherwise, it's going to be a disaster and possibly impossible to cook whatever you're trying to cook or make the video you're trying to make. So, for example, I go to the grocery store and I pick up the freshest vegetables, the best vegetables on the market, right? But then I go home and I'm told that I need to turn those vegetables into the juiciest steak the world has ever had. That's literally impossible. And so the reason I bring this up and the reason I want to talk about fixing it in post is not to scare anyone by any means, but to be mindful, to help people be intentional about each action, each decision through the video journey to make the best content that they can make. Our goal here at Shoots is to try to empower all of you to continue creating videos, to harness video and make video work for you, right? So a little bit of education in this front will hopefully do you well in the long run. But that is our time. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me, guys. This has been super fun. Let's do this again soon. But for now, we're going to kick it back to future Leighton and future Nathan. So I will see you all soon.